The Daily Signal is coming to you live from the Republican National Convention in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, and we're joined now by Oklahoma Governor Kevin Stitt. Good to see you again, sir.
Thank you so much. Great to be with you.
Well, we always love having return visitors to the Daily Signal and appreciate you being here. You have had a front row seat in the arena. You've been on the floor with the Oklahoma delegation. What are your impressions of what's happening here in Milwaukee?
You know, first off, the atmosphere is unbelievable. I mean, the excitement, and you're just seeing a unified, Republican, convention here, really. So I just think it's been fantastic. It's a big tent. I loved J.D. Vance last night, his speech. Our policies are what's right for America. President Trump's granddaughter speaking, which I thought was amazing. She's just reminding us, and it made us all reflect on our own families and my own granddad, and really just humanize the president. It's a grandfather, he's a father, he's a husband. He's just a great American. He's a businessman. He's got a very important job. But I just thought it was great hearing from his granddaughter last night and seeing that other side of the president of the United States, because he's bigger than life to all of us and the party, and I just thought it was great.
Well, that caricature that so many in the liberal media have painted of President Trump seems to be just false, based on what we've heard from those who know him well, his family, and others. What have your interactions been like with the former president? Obviously, we know that he's somebody who counts on strong Republican governors to do great things in states like yours in Oklahoma.
Yeah, what I really admire about the president is he's a businessman, and so he asks questions like, what does this cost? It's amazing. And because, listen, the federal government spending is out of control, and it's basically devaluing our dollar. Everything's costing more. When he handed the numbers, when he handed the economy and the presidency over to Biden, inflation was less than 2%, and you've seen this skyrocket from the spending from the Biden administration, from the anti-energy, that Biden is doing. He's putting his thumb on the scale, telling us what cars to drive, what stoves we can keep in our house. I was explaining to my 14-year-old son, we believe in an all-of-the-above approach. Like, we want American companies to drill and to meet the needs of Americans, and we're number 3 in wind energy in Oklahoma. We have an all-of-the-above approach. And in other words, we think that's the right approach. That's the American economy. That's the free enterprise. That's what actually makes our country so great. And the other side, they want government intervention. They want to tell you what businesses you can and can't start. They want more regulation. They don't want you to be able to supply the needs of Americans, which really just hurts our allies. And I mean, the energy conversation that President Trump, the free market principles that he believes in energy are really going to start driving down the inflation cost. And we need someone smart like him in the White House that understands these free market principles, because the ideology of the left trying to push some political agenda is hurting everyday Americans. And that's what they are starting to see that now.
They are. It demonstrates how out of touch the Washington bureaucrats are with the everyday American. I mean, look, I talk to my parents and they say, why do I have a washing machine that takes, so much longer? And it's because of the regulations that have been put in place by the bureaucrats in Washington, D.C., who don't understand that the American people might not want to drive an EV. As you said, we should leave that choice in the hands of the American people in terms of their energy needs. You have made it a priority, though, to give that freedom back to the people of Oklahoma. And as a result, I think you've seen an influx of businesses and residents who are flocking to your state as a result of that. Talk about some of the policies and your agenda that have made Oklahoma a more appealing place to live.
Oh, man, I could talk about this forever. I'll give you a couple of ideas. I tell people we all really want the same things, right? And as Oklahomans, I say let Washington, D.C. play politics. That I'm just trying to make Oklahoma a top 10 state for business, right? I want Oklahoma to be the most business-friendly state. We all want the same things. We want the best education for our kids. We want the best roads and bridges, the best health care, and the best economy. And so those are things that shouldn't be political, right? And so education, we just passed the best school choice bill in the entire country. Every single family, regardless of your income, now has a refundable tax credit to go to a school of their choice, a Christian school, a private school. You can stay at your public school. It doesn't matter. But we think that's really important. From a business perspective, so businesses want an educated workforce. So we're doubling down on education. But I also saw what happened in New York with President Trump's business, where they're attacking him. And so we set up business courts in Oklahoma. So I want every business to know that you need to be incorporated in Oklahoma, that we have business courts now, so you will not have that kind of stuff happen to you that you're seeing in New York, Delaware. Elon Musk just pulled out of Delaware. And so we want people to know that we're going to have business-minded judges that are going to interpret the law fairly. You're going to get a fair shake, and I think that's going to be super important for the future of our country. But those are the things we're doing to make sure that we're protecting businesses in Oklahoma.
I'm glad you brought up education. I mean, ever since the pandemic and the fact that parents have demanded to have more say over their children's education, we've seen not just your state but other states move in a direction where they are actually doing that. What was it like in your experience maybe to convince some skeptical lawmakers that this was the direction that you needed to go, and what has the response been from parents so far?
Well, in some of the rural communities, they were concerned like, well, we don't have other options. We just have our local public school, which we get that. And the rural schools are close to the parents. They're not teaching the crazy stuff. It's sometimes your inner city schools that have low graduation rates, low ACT scores. You've got, maybe drugs infiltrating some of it. And I tell people this, rich people already have school choice. They can already put their kids wherever they want. But let me just say something to you. If you were governor and you had to have the conversation with a single mom that said, Governor, what am I supposed to do? My kid is in a failing school. They're getting into the wrong crowd. They want a different option. And now every kid in Oklahoma, every parent in Oklahoma has that option that if you're in a situation, you can take your kid to another school. And so I tell the rural community, hey, we're going to keep doubling down. We're going to keep investing in public education because most kids go to public schools. But competition is good. That's a free market principle. What if you only had one doctor to choose from or one grocery store? We believe in the free market. And so why is education any different? Let's have the money follow the student. And that's what we believe in Oklahoma. And it's a free market American principle that we're not going to trap you in this school. We're going to make these schools compete, and may the best school win. And isn't that a great principle?
It is.
It's coming in Oklahoma. We also were the first state to pass a religious charter school, which is amazing. And basically, it just says if you're going to have charter schools, you can't discriminate based on your religion. So in other words, and by the way, you don't have to send your kid to this charter school. You can go to this public school, but here's the deal. If you want your kid to have a Catholic education, why is the government standing in the way of a parent wanting to put their values in their children? Or if you're Jewish and you want to go send them to a Hebrew school or a Christian school, a Protestant school, it doesn't matter. We believe in those religious freedoms in Oklahoma. And so why is the government standing in the way and saying, hey, you shouldn't be able to do that? So anyway, we just believe school choice is important. We believe these education freedoms are a great principle to change the direction. We're competing against Japan and these other countries. We need to elevate our education system.
Oh, we absolutely do. And I'm hoping that friendly rivalry you have with Texas might prompt them to move in this direction. I know it's a debate that they've been having in their state legislature for a number of years and just haven't been able to get it done. But I think as more and more states move in that direction, whether it's a religious charter school or whether it's universal school choice or tax credits, there are certainly a lot more options. And I think that makes it appealing for people to move in those particular areas. Let's stick on the topic of education because you have done a significant amount of work to protect women's sports and draw a stark line and say, look, biological males should not be competing against our daughters. What are some of the initiatives that you've led as governor?
Yeah, thank you. Again, pretty common sense to us in Oklahoma. Everything I do, I tell people, it's just really common sense, and it's American values, it's family values, it's what our country's founded on, and so I think that's why the Republican Party is getting so many new people to join us because they're going, man, the left is crazy right now. They have lost their mind. So in other words, I was one of the first governors that had to pass a law that said, listen, men aren't going to compete in women's sports. And to me, that's pretty common sense. I've had so many, track athletes. This one lady came up to me, and she had a scholarship to the University of Oklahoma running track. And she was like, thank you, Governor, for protecting my scholarship, because this is my opportunity. I worked so hard in high school to get this scholarship, and I can't imagine having that given to someone else. Well, I had to define what a woman was in Oklahoma because I was seeing in other states, biological men going to women's prisons and going into women's shelters. And I said, that's not going to happen in Oklahoma. And so anyway, it's pretty common sense for us. It's interesting. The Washington Post interviewed me, and they were like, Governor, you signed this controversial bill and the Save Women in Sports. I was like, it's really not controversial in Oklahoma, guys. I said, we know the difference between a boy and a girl. And we're going to protect our young ladies in Oklahoma.
Yeah, I think that's a perfect illustration of the liberal media in their bubble.
That's right.
And not necessarily understanding where the broad swath of the American people are. It seems to me like an 80-20 issue. But what has the reaction been of progressive Democrats or the left to some of your steps here, which to us seem like common sense, but to them are certainly something that they have challenged in court and attempted to overturn?
Yeah. Well, I mean, listen, some people are going to complain if their ice cream's too cold, right? So you always have the far left, but it's really a minority. It's a very vocal, loud, liberal minority. But most Oklahomans, like I said, they're just taking their kids to piano lessons and soccer practice. We have to heat our homes and our businesses. We have to drive to work. And so they appreciate what's happening in our economy. They appreciate an all-of-the-above energy approach. They appreciate us protecting. Even the most, crazy liberal has a daughter that's in playing sports. And so they also are thinking these things to themselves. But they're kind of between a rock and a hard spot because they have to, to get their crazy idea across the finish line, they have to support everybody else's crazy idea. And so, we just approach it a little different in Oklahoma, and I don't have a lot of pushback from 90% of the people.
That's great. That's great to hear. Now, you've touched on this a few times throughout the interview, broadening the appeal of the Republican Party. Certainly Oklahoma, solid state. But what are some of the steps that you would have for other elected Republicans or the conservative movement more broadly in terms of reaching working class Americans or reaching other people, segments of the American population that, may traditionally not support Republicans?
Yeah. Well, I think Trump does an amazing job of a blue collar worker, or even union workers and people, like I said, that believe that men shouldn't play in women's sports. I mean, we can talk about that forever. The Hispanic community in Oklahoma just overwhelmingly voted for me because I reached out to them, and they believe in a strong border, right? They believe in putting God first, very faith-focused, and they believe in entrepreneurship, and they're very family-focused. And so I think inviting the Hispanic community, they should be absolutely Trump voters, Republicans, the Asian community, the African American community. I think you're seeing them come to our party. So, because here's the deal, more regulation is driving up the cost. It's crushing the middle class. Most workers realize that when they go to the grocery store, things are costing them more, and it's because of these policies. We know that the free market policies, America is based on the American dream and a meritocracy, and we don't care who your parents are or what side of the tracks you're born on. And I loved what Donald Trump Jr. said last night. He said, here's a guy, he's talking about himself, that was born or who lives in Trump Tower, New York City. That's where I was raised. And then here's a kid from Appalachian named J.D. Vance. And we're coming together and we're good buddies, only in America. And that imagery I just love. And that's what this is about. And I tell my kids are the governor's kids. They have a lot of opportunity. I said, guys, if you don't work hard, if you don't say yes, sir, no, sir, if you don't go get a good education, if you don't go do your very, very best, it doesn't matter what parents you have. And I said, you've got to go earn it. That's what America's about. And I love teaching the young people in Oklahoma, you go chase the American dream in Oklahoma. We want equal opportunities for you, but there's no such thing as there's no such thing as equal outcomes. And we need to teach people that. I don't care what race you are, you go chase the American dream.
That's right. That's right. Well, excellent points there. I think that two things I'd say. Number one, it's so important for for those of us who work in conservative media or Republican politics in your case, to make sure that we're connecting those dots for the people who don't pay attention as closely as we do, because they don't necessarily see how the policies in Washington, D.C. or their state capitals impact their lives on a daily basis. And secondly, thank you for reaching out to those communities that may traditionally not be receptive to conservative ideas, because I think that, they are open now to hearing alternative points of view given what they're experiencing in their everyday life. So
absolutely.
Governor Kevin Stitt, it's good to always see you. Thank you for spending time with the Daily Signal today.
Thank you so much. Such an honor to be here.
Well, we will be back with more interviews throughout the day, the final day of the Republican National Convention here in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. For the Daily Signal, I'm Rob Bluey. We'll see you soon.